What is up, fight fans? This is DJC Combat, and this Saturday goes down the final ever pay-per-view of the year 2025, headlined by the rematch between Merab the Machine Dvalishvili, who's on a GOAT run, versus Petr No Mercy Yan, who's on a bit of a redemption tour right now, has won 3 fights since the first one. And they meet again, but that's not all. The co-main event, we got Alexandre Pantoja taking on the young, promising, and talented Joshua Van. So we got 2 GOATs, essentially, of their divisions. I think Pantoja is the second greatest flyweight of all time, but he's getting there when it comes to being the greatest flyweight of all time. And Merab, I think, is already the bantamweight GOAT. And then we got Brandon Moreno versus Tatsuro Taira, the top 2 contender and former champion Moreno versus the rising flyweight prospect in Taira. And then we got Henry Cejudo, that old washed fart, versus zesty Peyton Talbot. And then to kick off the main card, we got Jan Błachowicz versus Anthony Smith 2.0, Bogdan Guskov. This is a pretty good main card. This is a pretty solid pay-per-view. And we've had a lot of good pay-per-views in 2025. I'm going to start with the first fight of the main card. Jan Błachowicz versus Bogdan Guskov. I'm just going to say it right now. I think this is where Jan Błachowicz is finally going to win. I usually start with the breakdown and then I get to the prediction, but I already have a general idea of how I think this fight's going to go. And I already know how good Jan Błachowicz is. And even though he is on a 3-fight losing streak, you got to look at the guys that he is losing to, right? Losing to guy, or is he on a 3-fight losing streak? No, 2-fight losing streak. That's right. Because the fight with Ankalaev was a draw. But a draw with Ankalaev, who is, I believe, maybe the 2nd or 3rd best light heavyweight in the world outside of Peyton. And then lost to Peyton, but by split decision in a fight where many people thought he won. And outside of that fight, Peyton's been like decapitating fools, but not Jan Błachowicz. And then Jan Błachowicz had a close fight with Carlos Ulberg, who just destroyed Dominic Reyes, but Jan did too. Ulberg is dangerous, and Jan Błachowicz didn't get finished and made it a close fight. And again, a lot of people thought that he won. Like, you could argue he should have beat Ankalaev to become a 2-time champion. He should have beaten Alex Pereira and earned another title shot at light heavyweight. He should have beaten Carlos Ulberg. But here we are, and I think he's taking on a step down in competition against Bogdan Guskov. I don't think Guskov, I don't think he's ready for that level of competition that is Jan Błachowicz. I don't think he'd be able to beat the guys that Jan shared the octagon with. I wouldn't pick him over Dominic Reyes. He would not beat Ankalaev. Pereira would destroy him, okay? Ulberg would destroy him. This guy got dropped and subbed by Volkan Oezdemir, who I don't think Jan Błachowicz would lose to, even in this current form. Like, Jan may not be in his prime anymore, but he's not fully washed up either. Like, he's still very good. Now, Bogdan has good striking. He has power, but we've seen Jan Błachowicz go up against more dangerous strikers and be fine. Jan Błachowicz has power as well, but Jan, I think, is a way better striker than Bogdan, okay? Way better boxing, way better kickboxing, good counter striking. He can catch Bogdan if Bogdan gets too careless with his blitzes. Overall, I just see him piecing up Guskov, winning a striking match. Like, unless he gets chinned, which I don't see happening, I don't see Jan losing a decision. And I don't really see him getting out grappled in this fight either, because Bogdan, I don't really think he has that grappling threat. So yeah, I think Jan Błachowicz outstrikes him to a decision and snaps the 2-fight losing streak. I was going to say 3-fight losing streak. I just think Jan is better, and I think he's just going to show levels, but we'll see. Maybe I'll be wrong, but I don't think so. And then moving up the main card, Henry Triple C Cejudo versus Zesty Peyton Talbot. Ever since this fight got booked, I've always been thinking that Talbot is going to win this fight. Now, There is a chance Cejudo could win. Henry Cejudo, stylistically on paper, is kind of a bad matchup because Raoni Barcelos out-grappled Peyton Talbot earlier this year in January, and Henry Cejudo is one of the best wrestlers in the division, if not the best wrestler, okay? Very strong Olympic-level wrestling, good clinch strength, good inside, trips, and good top control. But Henry Cejudo is not in his prime. He's way past his prime. He's way older now, way slower, way sloppier at everything that he does, from the striking to the wrestling. Okay, I know he took Aljo to a split decision off of the couch from a 3-year layoff, which is actually very impressive. But then Merab dominated him. Now, no shame, Merab dominates everyone. But then he loses to Song Yadong. And I know it was a technical decision because of the eye poke and Cejudo couldn't continue, but I'm pretty sure, from what I remember, Henry was losing that fight up until that eye poke and up until he couldn't continue. And I think Peyton Talbot, he's got the youth advantage, and he is improving. He showed a lot of improvements in his following fight against Felipe Lima. After the Raoni Barcelos fight, he fought Felipe Lima, who has good grappling, was able to defend a lot of takedowns, and even when taken down, get reversals, get some dominant positions on the ground. And overall, he has way better striking than Henry Cejudo, and he's got a 6-inch height and reach advantage. Yeah, I'm not picking Triple C to win this fight. I have no faith in Triple C. I'm not going to believe it until I see it, basically. And this is his final fight, and in this cruel fight game, it is rare that we see a legend of the sport go out on top, especially when they say, this is my last fight, and they're on a losing streak. Yeah, they don't usually go out on a win, so I'm not picking Henry Cejudo. Give me Peyton Talbot by a decision. Now, the feature fight of the card, this is going to be a really good fight. Brandon the Assassin Baby Moreno versus Tatsuro Taira. Great fight. Taira, I think he's got a good win streak going right now. Actually, I'm not sure. Is he only coming off like one recent win? Let me just check. Real quick, because I know he lost to Brandon Royval. He did not pass that Royval test. Yeah, he's only coming off really one win, and that's over Park Hyun Sung, who obviously is nowhere near the level of a Brandon Moreno. Now, Tatsuro Taira has great grappling. Okay, I think that's where he threatens Brandon. He's got the takedown threat. He's got good back takes. He's got good submissions. And on the feet, he's not half bad. He does have power. I've seen him drop fools, knock fools out, but I don't really see him knocking out or submitting Brandon. And I think all around, this is a very difficult stylistic matchup for Taira, because Brandon Moreno, everything that makes Taira so dangerous, Brandon Moreno, I think, has the answers, physically and stylistically. Physically, because he has a granite chin, so I don't see Taira chinning him. But stylistically, because Brandon Moreno, I think, is a way better striker, okay? And Brandon Moreno's grappling is not half bad. I mean, I know he did get out-grappled by Pantoja, but that's Pantoja. He showed good takedown defense against Amir Albazi, who I think is a way better wrestler than Tatsuro Taira. So I think he can defend takedowns of Taira. But even if Taira is able to get him down, Brandon Moreno has some sick scrambling ability, and he's not the easiest guy in the world to hold down. And he has a very good gas tank as well, high volume. So I'm going to pick Brandon Moreno to win this fight. I'm going to pick him to win by a decision. And it doesn't help that Taira did not pass the Royval test. If you cannot pass that Royval test, what's going to convince me that you're going to pass that Moreno test? Because I think Brandon might be the third or second best in the division. Pantoja is his kryptonite. Yeah, Royval beat him like once, but they're like 1-1. I don't really think B. Royval is a better fighter than Moreno. I just think he caught Moreno on like an off night. But we saw what happened when Moreno shows up at his best, like against Albazi. He goes out there and puts on a clinic and overperforms. Didn't really overperform against Steve Erceg, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to say Brandon Moreno wins this fight by decision. in a war. I think Taira will put up a good fight, but I just don't think his efforts will be enough. Now, on to the co-main event of the evening, the flyweight championship of the world, Alexandre Pantoja versus Joshua Van. I'm very excited about this fight. Joshua Van has a lot of promise, a lot of talent, and he passed that Brandon Royval test, because Brandon Royval, he was that gatekeeper. He was the second best guy in the division, the number one guy who couldn't beat Pantoja but was able to beat everyone else. But then Joshua Van went out there, beat him, won a decision in a war. But now he has to deal with the ultimate test in Alexandre Pantoja, which I think is going to be an even more difficult matchup than Brandon Royval was, because Royval posed challenges with his height, length, and his awkward striking. Pantoja is going to pose challenges with his smothering, overwhelming pressure on the feet, his durability, and his high-level grappling, okay? He's going to have what Royval didn't have, the threat of the takedown. Brandon Royval, his style played perfectly into Van's style because he doesn't really wrestle. Alexandre Pantoja has some of the best grappling in the flyweight division, and I don't think that Van has ever fought the level of grappler that is Alexandre Pantoja. Very strong and effective takedowns that are difficult to defend, and he has strong top control, slick back takes, and once he gets your back, unless you're Brandon Moreno, who I think is the only one in recent memory to survive the back takes, maybe Urseg and Royval actually in the second fight, usually it's over, because Kai couldn't survive and the other Kai couldn't survive, Azakura and, Kai Kara-France, right? Pantoja has the ability to just smudge you on the ground. Now, obviously, in just pure striking, Joshua Van is way better. He is an elite striker. He's got crisp boxing, fast hands, dangerous counterpunching, knockout power. If he is able to completely nullify the grappling of Pantoja, then I think he lights him up on the feet, pieces him up. And, finding a finish will be difficult because Pantoja has a granite chin. But if he can just defend every takedown, he doesn't need a knockout. He can just win by decision. Or maybe he could find a finish through just damage and accumulation. But it's very hard for me to picture Van having that perfect kind of performance against Alexandre Pantoja, okay? Joshua Van has never seen the level that Pantoja brings to the octagon. He is very good. He has great potential, more than potential. He's fighting for the title, for crying out loud. But I just don't think it's Joshua Van's time right now. He's 24 years old. He's young. I think this fight's going to be like a good learning experience for Van, a good teaching moment. But I just don't think Pantoja is ready to give up the belt that easily, okay? 4 defenses. I think he's going to defend his belt for a 5th time. Now, how do I see Pantoja winning this fight? A submission is on the table. It is very plausible, okay? I could see a sub, maybe, where he, in a scramble, finds the back, finds the neck. But I know Van's going to be prepared. So getting the rear naked choke might not be that simple for Pantoja, and I actually feel like if this fight goes past 3 rounds, the window for a Pantoja finish closes, because I don't think he's ever gotten a finish in the championship rounds. Not against Moreno, not against Urseg, not against Royval. Every time a fight goes past round 3, his fights usually end in a decision, so I could see him just kind of having a smudge grappling performance, decision win against Joshua Van. Like, maybe Van has a solid first round in the striking where he's able to, prevent Pantoja from getting in, getting his takedowns, or even if Pantoja does get in, maybe Van's able to get the underhooks, shake him off, and outbox him for a round. But then I think as the fight goes on, I could see Van just feeling that relentless pressure of Pantoja, and Pantoja making the adjustments necessary, adjusting his takedown entries. And Pantoja is just so persistent with his takedowns. Like, eventually one of those takedowns will land. And once he gets a hold of you, once he gets you down, it is very hard to shake a guy like Pantoja off of you. So, yeah, I got Pantoja winning. I'm going to go with a decision win. I'm going to say it's going to be a decision, and a fairly clear decision where Van has moments. He has a few windows, but overall Pantoja is just more dominant, where he's able to get takedowns, control, and Van maybe lands a few good shots on the feet. But let's not count out Pantoja when it comes to striking, because Pantoja also has good striking. Okay, he's got a very fast, awkward blitz. He does have power of his own, and it's very difficult to time counters on him. And he has an underrated kicking game as well, and kicks are good keys to neutralize elite boxers. He's got good switch kicks to the body, rear kicks to the body, inside low kicks, outside low kicks, teep kicks to the body, high kicks. He's also good at, landing that knee up the middle as you press forward against him. And defensively, he's not that bad either. He's got a very good shell defense as you do come at him. Good at keeping a tight guard where he doesn't take punches too clean. He has a decent jab as well. So I think he can be competitive on the feet with Joshua Van. And then you combine that with the takedown threat that's going to, I think, create more openings for Pantoja in the striking. And then Pantoja, I think, can be dominant in the grappling. So I got Pantoja winning this fight. And still, I won't be surprised if he subs him. Like, I could end up being wrong about the method, but right about the outcome overall. It's just hard to bet against Pantoja. But hey, Van does have a chance. And if anyone can do it, it is Joshua Van. But I just can't pick him. Now, the main event. Merab the Machine Dvalishvili versus Petr No Mercy Yan 2. A rematch of their first fight they had in March of 2023. Since then, Petr Yan has put together a 3-fight win streak over Song Yadong, Davison Figueiredo, and Marcus McGee to earn his way back at another shot at Merab Dvalishvili. And obviously, since the first fight for Merab, he's went on a legendary GOAT run, okay, lapping the division, went through Cejudo, earns a title shot, beats O'Malley twice, defends against Umar Nurmagomedov, defends against Corey Sandhagen, and now he's about to defend his belt, or he's attempting to put his title on the line against someone he already just dominated. With all this time that's went by, will Petr Yan, will he be able to make the adjustments necessary to get the job done? What will be different about this fight compared to the first fight? Because I know every fight is different. A fight is a fight. MMA is unpredictable. A guy like Yan, he's very good. You can never count him out. But I just have a hard time seeing how Yan beats Merab. And even though I am a huge Yan fan, I've been a Yan believer since 2019. I said he'd be a bantamweight champion, and I ended up right. I was stoked when he won that belt, and I've been wanting him to get the belt back ever since he lost that DQ to Aljo 4 years ago. But now he's got to get through Merab to get it back, who already dominated him. And since that first fight, I think Merab has made more improvements than Petr Yan. Merab Dvalishvili improved with his footwork, his striking, his defense has gotten better. Even his wrestling offense has gotten better. He's developed a better ability to control guys on the ground. His takedowns are not as easy to defend as they used to be. It's hard to escape from bottom against him. And now he's upped his finishing ability, because we just saw him submit Sean O'Malley, which is something I didn't see coming. And even though he didn't knock out Corey Sandhagen, he dropped him. He hurt Corey with the hands, came very close to TKOing him. So Yan now knows, he has to know that he's not just fighting a decision merchant. He's fighting a guy who could grind him to a decision, but also has the threat of finishing him, whether it be a TKO with strikes or a submission on the ground. And Merab Dvalishvili, with the striking improvements he's making, he already outstruck Yan, which is kind of it's not really a good look for Yan going into this rematch. Now, I do think Petr Yan will take this fight more seriously than the last fight, because I do think he did slightly underestimate Merab the first time around. He called him zero. And what else was I going to say? He also fought injured, which could have played a factor. So I think this fight, I hope he'll show up more healthy. And I do think he'll be more prepared for what Merab brings to the table. But stylistically, everything that Yan does so well that makes him so effective against others, I just don't see being effective against Dvalishvili, because Petr Yan, he thrives off the game of attrition. That is usually how he wins his fights. Starting slow, downloading the data, figuring you out, and then getting better as the fight goes on. And then he wins a decision for the most part. Doesn't really have a finishing ability anymore. But Merab is not someone you win the game of attrition against. Merab Dvalishvili has an endless, infinite gas tank, okay? He starts fast in most of his fights, although against Corey he did start a little bit slow and built. And he can't do that against Yan. And I think he knows he can't do that. But he starts fast in most of his fights, but he doesn't slow down. There is no breathing room against Merab. There's no window where you can find Merab, where you can catch him getting tired and where you could take over. That never happens. I think to beat a guy like Merab, I think you got to get him out of there. Or you just have to have perfect cardio. And Petr Yan, he does have a good gas tank, but he doesn't have the finishing ability to put Merab away, and I don't see him winning by a decision now. Petr Yan does have solid takedown defense, and compared to some of Merab's previous opponents, I think Yan is the best takedown defense guy that Merab will have fought. Outside of Umar Nurmagomedov, he was able to defend a lot of Merab's takedowns last time, so that is something he could hold on to confidence-wise going into this rematch, that I can stop the takedowns, I can get back up, I can scramble. But the problem is, even last time, with how good his takedown defense was, he was not able to capitalize because Merab Dvalishvili did not give him a chance to get settled into the fight. He just kept pouring on the volume, and Yan could not make his reads. And that is why Merab was able to outstrike him last time. Now, will Yan be able to adjust to that fast pace of Merab, to where he can find the openings, to where he can make his superior boxing, his overall superior striking more effective? It's possible. Like, I do think he can do good just enough to do better in the rematch, but not to win. I just think Merab has his number. And I just see it being a similar fight to the first one, except maybe it's slightly more competitive. Maybe Yan has a few more moments than he did last time, but Merab is just a dog, man. He is just so gritty, so tough. And I just don't see Yan being able to stop the grind. He might have a bit of early success, then he might kind of fade to Merab's pressure, and Merab might get more dominant as the fight goes on. So I think Merab's going to win another decision. And still, although a finish is plausible because he has improved his finishing ability, but Petr Yan is pretty tough. He's a hard guy to get out of there. So I'm going to say it's going to be a decision. Merab doesn't typically finish people, so I'm going to say he's not going to finish Yan. But Yan just won't have the answers to solve Merab Dvalishvili's style. But I'm hoping for the best as a Yan fan. This is not me hating on Merab. I just really love Yan, no homo, and I really want to see him get the belt back, but I can't see it happening. I think Merab wins this and further cements his bantamweight GOAT status and becomes fighter of the year, gets his 4th ever defense. But that is it for my breakdown and predictions for the main card of UFC 323. Let me know your predictions in the comment section down below. Can the challengers pull off the upset? Or will both champions reign supreme? Or will the outcomes be 1-1? Let me know. Like and subscribe, and peace out.